It's time for a new episode of the Fight HQ podcast. Of course, I am Jason Floyd. We're here to break down UFC 304, which, of course, goes down here tomorrow in Manchester, England. Late Saturday night, early Sunday morning there, local time in Manchester. Of course, the main card, the prelims in Manchester start 11 p.m. local time at main card, not till 3 o'clock in the morning. Of course, as always, we're joined by the fighter, Pete Rogers Jr. Pete, could you imagine fighting at 5 o'clock in the morning when you're the main event?
That would definitely be crazy. I mean, they're doing a lot to really cater to the American audience, which it's a little unfortunate because I do love the daytime MMA. You know I love daytime MMA, so it would have been nice to have an earlier card for us. The latest I ever fought was around midnight or 12:30. I was the post-lim, I think you remember, and that was really late. That was really late. So I can't imagine like that 3 or 4 o'clock. 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock, I guess. I don't know. It's pretty weird, especially for them because they're going to be up. They've had to, cater their schedules around this entire event, or at least they should have been doing so, because they think they're just going to wing it. It's a completely different ballgame when you're having a fight at a very odd time.
Yeah, I know. In the build-up to this fight, Belal Muhammad talked about how he wasn't going to change his schedule. He was just going to treat it like, hey, I'm fighting in North America at the regular pay-per-view time. Now, of course, he's been over there for a couple of days. I'm sure maybe some things have changed there, and there may be some fighters that maybe get woken up by a punch on fight night there, but of course, we're going to break this one down for you. Of course, our DraftKings contest is already up for it this week, so you can check that out there in the show notes. Congratulations to Joey Rock taking down last weekend's contest, scoring 615 points. I was talking about this yesterday on my show. If you didn't watch last week's fight and you just want to go watch one fight, just go watch the 𝐼𝐸𝐼𝐿 fight. Because I will say this, man, Lee, that boy got a chin on him. I mean, the fence might have been holding him up, but goddamn, Pete. I mean, 𝐼𝐸𝐼𝐸 was throwing everything but the kitchen sink at him.
Yeah, last week was a pretty solid week, right? Like, there were some good calls on our behalf. I mean, like Jason talked about Thomas Peterson. We like Loughran and Caolan. We both like Trey Ogden in an underdog role. Miranda Maverick looked good. Cody Gibson looked good. Priced as a high favorite. 𝐼𝐸𝐼𝐿 was that underdog you needed, right? Like 𝐼𝐸𝐼𝐿 was the guy that went out there, pushed the pace against a hot prospect in Jung Young Lee and broke the slate. 𝐉𝐨𝐢𝐭 really kind of laid an egg for everybody and let down the entire DFS community that was backing him. I mean, I was one of them because I was just like, too much time in activity. 𝐉𝐸𝐿𝐻 did look like a guy that has been training under the tutelage of the Korean Zombie and just like, yes, he served in the military and everything, but like, I almost think it was more about 𝐉𝐴𝐢𝐿 than it was 𝐉𝐻. I don't know, man. 𝐉𝐴𝐢𝐿 seems like he's really fallen off. Bruno Silva coming back after getting worked against Cody Durden. Halabal and Krzyzewski's fight, it was okay. We talked about the fight you needed, and that was the Steve Garcia 𝐷𝐿 Choi. And admittedly, it's a guy that I'm just not high on in Steve Garcia, but I guess like I might have to jump ship and start supporting him because he's just finishing everybody in the first round. And of course, in women's MMA, Virna Jandiroba went out there and showed that there's levels to, MMA grappling. And I did like the jiu-jitsu that was on display, taking the back and then transitioning from the back to an armbar was pretty nice, and picked up a nice victory over Amanda Lemos. So last week, some really good calls and some spots that we were kind of laid out the potential outcomes. Hope you guys cashed and hope you guys did well, especially in the big 150 max, and looking to do the same this week. I really like this card. I really do like this card. I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. Give you a little news here. Starting the week of August the 10th, you will start to see fighter interviews on this channel. I've already lined up one interview that's going to be taped next week. We'll be with Damon Jackson. He takes on Chepe Mariscal, who, by the way, I'm lining him up as well. So we'll have that here on the channel to give you a little content in between us doing the podcast here. I see you chuckling over there. I see you chuckling.
I'm chuckling because the people need to know that I'm throwing the I'm throwing the questions of our community at Jason. I said, all right, well, first thing we need to know, are these guys going out there and trying to get that quick win bonus? Are they searching for a first-round finish? Are they looking to lace up those wrestling shoes and take people to Takedown City? No, but, I mean, in all seriousness, it'll be nice to kind of get some depth and in-depth analysis into their camps and see what adjustments they've made. And Jason has a great, connection with a lot of these fighters, so it'll be really cool to just have it on our channel and use it as another resource when you're building lineups.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So that's going to start up the next Vegas card. So, of course, next week they're over in the Middle East for the Sandhagen or Magomedov fight. Of course, we'll have a show for you next week as well. Now, as we go ahead, start looking at UFC 304 and talking about game theory. And, as I was looking at the salaries here, Pete, the main event salaries really does stick out to me. And primarily, and we'll get more into breaking down the fight down, but to me, it's about that price tag. And I know we get the questions of, cash cores. Belal Muhammad might be a cash core play for me this week. I'm just thinking 7,400. I don't look. You look at both these guys. Both these guys, nearly a majority of their fights hit the third round. Belal Muhammad, look, he is talking a lot this past couple weeks. I mean, look, if he knocks down Leon Edwards, it'll be the first time in 18 UFC fights he scores a knockdown. Not counting on it. Look, he needs to wrestle up those wrestling shoes and go. But to me, the 7,400 price tag. I mean, even though and I'll get into this, I do like Leon Edwards to win the fight. I thought that price tag, the co-main event, I think is a boom bust play. I really do. I think that I feel one of these guys is going to get 100 points, the other guy's going to get 10.
Yeah, so I'm with you with including both the main and co-main. That's just how I'm going to do it. And we know that heavyweight MMA has the highest finishing potential in the UFC. And that's a statistic that I can back up as well. I mean, heavyweights finish at a 73% clip within the past year in the UFC. So that's you need to have heavyweights a part of your lineups. And that's why taking shots on underdog heavyweights makes sense. When it comes to that's the co-main event. When it comes to the main event between Edwards and Belal Muhammad, 5 rounds really starts to make it interesting and almost a necessity to have it a part of your lineups. Now, do I love the price tag on Leon Edwards? Not necessarily. I think obviously the always underappreciated, underrated Belal Muhammad at 7,400. It's going to be a core play for me from a cash standpoint and even a GPP standpoint, Jason. Just because I feel like, it's almost like everybody expects and expected Leon to just completely dominate Belal Muhammad based off of one round, and adjustments are happen in between rounds. From round to round, we've seen Edwards win rounds in the past and then lose majority of the fight. Yes, he threw a beautiful left head kick against Belal Muhammad and had him hurt. I just still think there's 4 more rounds left of a fight. That's a lot of fight time left, man. And we didn't really see any wrestling attempts. There was some clinching and reversing against the cage, but we did not see the best path to victory for Belal Muhammad executed in that first bout. If you think this goes 25 minutes, I almost guarantee that Belal Muhammad has initiated a takedown or landed the takedown. So I'm probably going to be on an island this week, but I can't wait to break it down. I love the value of Belal Muhammad, and you already know I am not jumping off the hype train of Tom Aspinall right now. There's no way. I think the first fight that happened was a fluke injury. Yes, he did get hit with some shots from Curtis Blaydes, but I think he rights that wrong and gets back in the win column with a big, big victory. So those 2 fights are going to be a big part of my lineups this week.
And the one thing, as I was looking at salaries for this one, it was kind of having that mindset of which 9,000 fighter is going to lose.
Yeah.
And, and why do I think it could be Nathaniel Wood?
Stop it. He ain't losing. You think Nathaniel Wood's losing to Daniel Pineda? No.
I'm telling you, man, one of these 9,000 options is going to lose, and it's trying to figure out who the hell that's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, there's volatility surrounding a couple of them. Like Sam Patterson's chin is very, very susceptible to big shots, getting knocked down and knocked out. Women's MMA, just in general, I think tends to be closer than what a lot of people project. So, like, yes, Molly McCann should dominate, but it's women's MMA, and I also don't think that Molly McCann's fight IQ is the greatest. Mick Parkin, I think, could make this look very easy. It's probably Arnold Allen, if I'm being honest. And it's mainly just because Arnold Allen's willingness to get into a firefight in a kickboxing matchup. You already know that Giga Chikadze is super dangerous. If Arnold Allen goes out there and just makes it a striking matchup, that's a recipe to lose to Giga Chikadze. You need to make this an MMA bout and combine some takedowns. And look what Calvin Kattar did. So if I had to really circle two of those, I'd probably circle Arnold Allen, and then I think I'd circle Molly McCann just because of the volatility of women's MMA.
Yeah, I'll tell you, and there's a couple of fights in this card from a GPP aspect that really got me interested. Christian Leroy Duncan, Gregory Rodrigues matchup, I think has potential of the winner's going to be optimal in that one. Sam Patterson, Kiefer Crosby, I don't trust Kiefer Crosby at all. Elise Arlene, who's in the first fight of the night, very padded record. And we're seeing that more and more. We've seen the Mokaev and Manel Kopp this week, and getting into it again today at the weigh-ins. I don't know if I love that fight from a GPP aspect. I think if you probably do it one way, I'd probably go Mokaev just because of potential takedown aspect. But we're going to break this one down for you here. Of course, as I mentioned, we do got our DraftKings contest. It's already live. The link to that is in the show notes. Of course, also we got our Discord channel, totally free to join. Great conversations going on in there. But let's get right into it. The main event is a title fight, and this is a rematch. Of course, the first time ended after the opening round with the eye poke. Leon Edwards taking on Belal Muhammad. Leon Edwards, a minus 250 betting fair, plus 205 for Belal Muhammad. Edwards, $8,800 on DK, $20 on FanDuel. For Belal, he has $7,400 on DK, $15 on FanDuel. And, look, I think do you think this fight plays out on the feet, or do you think it plays out on the ground? I mean, for me, Pete, if I'm Belal Muhammad and his team, this to me is about getting the matchup to the ground. And I think realizing they may get down early on in this matchup, but I do wonder if they get this thing into the fourth and fifth round, could that maybe be the time where Belal could take over this matchup and really wear down on a Leon Edwards that we have seen wear down late in fights?
Yeah, so, I mean, I really do think that if this is a 3-round fight, then the line is significantly favoring Leon Edwards because he's very good at nullifying his opponent's strengths and starting to kind of outclass them on the feet and pick them apart from distance. He's a very talented striker, right? Like, has great feints, fakes, setups, likes to really set up that left high kick. And he's just very intelligent in the striking department. He has initiated takedowns in the past. He has improved his overall, takedown offense, his get-ups, his reversals against the cage. But that's not where he wants to fight. He wants to fight in open space. And I do think that in round one, in their first encounter, we saw Belal Muhammad accepting the fight in open space, which you saw Leon Edwards was starting to pick apart Belal Muhammad in one round. Rounds change drastically, especially when there's 5, and especially when corners start to provide advice, or you start to, you start to make some adjustments from minute to minute. And I just don't think that we saw the correct game plan for Belal Muhammad to pick up a victory over Leon Edwards in that round and a half. Yes, Edwards landed a beautiful left head kick, and I will say that for whatever reason, Belal Muhammad is susceptible to left head kicks. He's been hurt multiple times. Leon Edwards, he's been hurt by Vicente Luque. He's been hurt by numerous people. Jeff Neal, he has something where he's parrying way too much that's leaving him open on the side of his head. Could Leon Edwards knock him out? Absolutely. I do think, though, that Belal Muhammad has developed into a more dangerous fighter, and that was evident against Sean Brady, where he picked apart Sean Brady, who wanted to put him down on the cage, put him down on the mat, or pin him against the cage, and he picked up one of the first finishes within his UFC tenure. And I don't think Belal Muhammad's a guy that can go out there and just start picking up finishes left and right. But I think a 5-round fight, his pace is really hard to beat. And I don't think we even saw that pace in the first round and in their first encounter. So, like, if you're looking at statistics, right, like Belal Muhammad's output in volume, the more active guy tends to land 4.55 strikes landed per minute, while Leon is the sniper, taking his time methodically, landing only 2.75. So nearly 2 more strikes landed per minute for Belal Muhammad. And the takedowns for Belal Muhammad are 1.98 per 15 minutes, whereas Edwards is 1.25 with only a 70% takedown defense rating. So I'm not a big stats guy. I like to kind of use them in combination with my fight film analysis and my gut feeling. And I do feel like the longer this fight goes, the more it starts to tilt in Belal Muhammad's favor. I think Edwards will probably win round 1 again, and perhaps round 2. And that's where we can possibly start seeing Belal go out there and make some adjustments. And I think as a coach, I would go out there, and I'm friends with Belal's coach, Mike Valley. I bet you the game plan is going to be pressure. It has to be, because you are not going to, be able to pick apart Leon Edwards in open space. He's too good for that. It's right up his alley. You have to put him on the back foot. You have to, throw your hands, keep switching your stances. Be careful when you're switching stances so much that you're not leaving yourself open to getting your legs butchered by leg kicks, because, opposite stances, but we have seen Belal Muhammad shifting into southpaw more often than not. Just chain wrestling. Mm-hmm. And I do think that, combining work under Khabib Nurmagomedov's camp these past several years will help him when he does get the fight to the mat. I really do think that we have seen Leon Edwards make some critical mistakes in some grappling exchanges. Of course, we're fighters, we're human, we make mistakes. I just think there's too much value here. I think there's way too much value here, and I'm going to be backing Belal Muhammad to become the new welterweight champion of the world. I really do think that Belal Muhammad, from a DFS perspective, whether he wins or not, the price tag's semi-broken at 7,400. So if you think this is an early finish, then, maybe you avoid this fight, because, like, Edwards at 8,800 typically does not attach to tons of volume. But I think no matter what, I'm going to be backing Belal Muhammad here at 7,400. And I've been backing Belal Muhammad a lot in underdog roles, and it hasn't worked against me too much at all. So why hop off the train now? I think that he has a ton of motivation behind him as well, and I think that could be an X factor, to be honest. So give me Belal Muhammad here at 7,400, and I know we may differ on the pick, but I do think from a DFS standpoint, he's a great value, and it doesn't harm your lineup. He's 7,400. He doesn't have to do a lot.
Yeah, to me, it's in terms of a DFS aspect, it's about the price point of 7,400. The fact of, I truly believe this thing's going to go 25 minutes. And even if you look at, the floor of Belal Muhammad, even in a loss, that may be 40, 45, 50 points. And you give me that at 7,400, allow me to get to a lot of other things. But look, I think Belal Muhammad has to utilize his grappling this one, not get into a striking matchup. And I know I've heard multiple people offer the same analysis that you had about Belal being susceptible to that left head kick. And of course, we have seen what Leon Edwards can do there. The pick for me is Leon Edwards, but I will tell you straight up, Belal Muhammad will be in my lineup on the Fight HQ contest.
Yeah, same here. And I will tell you that, like, I'm really cool with Belal's coach, Mike Valley, and they have literally one of the best kickers in there to help Belal prepare for that left kick in Ignacio Bahamondes. So, like, that's a big guy that can throw every single kick that Leon Edwards can throw. Obviously, it's different on fight night, but I think there's counters, there's setups, there's crowd the kicker is the number one rule out there. And don't be in open space. So I think it's a completely different fight here, and I'm excited for it.
Let's move over to our co-main event, which is also a rematch. The first time, it only lasted 15 seconds due to Tom Aspinall suffering that knee injury. Of course, he is defending the interim heavyweight title here against Curtis Blaydes. He is a 4-1 betting favorite here. Curtis Blaydes is plus 300. Aspinall 9,400 on DK, $23 on FanDuel. For Curtis Blaydes, 6,800 on DK, $14 on FanDuel. And when I saw this price tag, I was like, okay, I get it. I understand it. Curtis Blaydes, look, it wasn't that long ago that me and you were having this conversation. Who's going to be the better prospect, Tom Aspinall or Alexander Romanov? Well, we looked pretty stupid when we thought it could be Romanov back in the day.
I did put Aspinall. I put Hamza Chimaev 1 and Aspinall 2 or vice versa. But those are the two guys that I really planted my flag on. But there was a time when we had that debate, like Romanov or Aspinall. And, Tom Aspinall just checks all the boxes, man. Like, he's a highly intelligent fighter, great striker, good wrestler, good jiu-jitsu. And I know that you're a fan of Aspinall as well.
Yeah, I think the one thing is I look at this matchup, and, to me it's very clear of Curtis Blaydes' path to going out there and getting a victory here. But the one thing I keep going back to is it's heavyweight MMA. We know anything can happen. But I just look at it and I say, there's one fighter, as you just said, checks all the boxes. Then the other side, you have a fighter who checks a majority of the boxes. The one thing he doesn't check is jiu-jitsu. I every time I watch him fight and he gets the match up to the ground, Pete, I just go, does this guy just not go to jiu-jitsu class? Like, never goes for a submission. It's one of the most puzzling things to me about Curtis Blaydes' game.
Yeah, and we've also seen the ground and pound, like, he's had great ground and pound finishes, but it's inconsistent. It's just like, where's your finishing instincts when the fight gets down to the mat? Like, imagine a big guy just getting mount. Imagine a big guy getting side control, taking somebody's back, flatten them out. Like, there's so many ways for Curtis Blaydes to pick up more finishes, but he's a wrestler that's fallen in love with his hands. And you would think after 4 knockout defeats, or however many he's been knocked out in the UFC, that you would stop. You'd get back to, what brought you to the big show, and that's like incorporating your hands with your wrestling. And instead, like in some fights, he just strikes way too long for his own good, and then he gets caught. And it's like there's no learning. It's like I wish we had like fight IQ ratings, because I would put him middle of the pack when it comes to fight IQ, because he does not take the path of least resistance. I understand you have to set things up. I understand that it's not as easy as it looks. I get all that. I've been there. I understand. But there shouldn't be a willingness, especially in heavyweight MMA, to strike more than you need to. Clinch as much as possible. Shoot as much as possible. Or, you know what I mean? Like, literally the most simple thing in the world. I train my heavyweights, and I have a lot of heavyweights. Double legs are great, but if you fail a double leg, you are now underneath your opponent with all of their weight on the back of your head, and you're fighting very strong hips. Instead of going power for power, strength for strength, and relying on timing when it comes to double legs, use a single leg takedown, which will test big guys' balance all the time. And you'll see when big heavyweight fighters get single leg takedowns, it looks like the easiest thing in the world. So single leg attempts need to be something that is a part of both of these guys going forward. But you saw what happened. Jailton Almeida, did good against Curtis Blaydes, and then shot another double, was against the cage, and got hammer-fisted until he got knocked out. So with all that being said, there's just too many red flags for Curtis Blaydes. And you already know that Tom Aspinall is my boy that I planted a flag on, saying that I actually think that this guy could be world champion. And it's looked good so far. He has excellent hands. I wish that he wasn't so bouncy, because I do think that some of his movement disrupts and leaves him vulnerable in certain areas and disrupts, like, some of his defensive skills. But, like, I just think that he hits too damn hard, and he checks all the boxes for me. Obviously, if he gets taken down or dragged into deep water, we have not seen that yet. So if you would rather be early than late, back Blaydes, go ahead, because he's proven it a little bit more. But I just can't do it. I think Tom Aspinall knocks him out in the first round. I think that chin is not good to take a Tom Aspinall right hand.
The other thing, looking at the other side of this, is we talked about the things we know and the things we don't know inside a fight. The one concern I do have about Tom Aspinall is, what happens if this fight hits the third round. Like it's unknown. It may not be an issue. He's just never gotten there in the UFC. He's only made it out of the first round one time in the UFC, and that fight in the second round. So like that to me is a question mark. I mean, I can see how the path to Curtis Blaydes going out there, but I just at the end of the day, I just wonder if Aspinall just stops takedowns and he forces him to stay on the feet. And if it stays on the feet, I think it's Tom Aspinall all day long. You know, I know Mr. Grapefruit there is saying, is it necessary to fit in Aspinall? I don't. If you want to have Aspinall in your lineup, I feel like that's where you start your lineup at, and then you go from there.
For me, it is because heavyweight MMA is something I want to target a lot, and I just think like Blaydes might even take too much confidence and too much from that little quick fight they had, thinking that he's going to have significant striking success. And then he's going to wake up staring at the lights. So give me Aspinall by first round knockout.
Next up, we've got King Green taking on Paddy Pimblett. Paddy Pimblett and King Green both minus 110. Yeah, I have to get used to saying.
Come on, Jason.
He legally changed his name. His name is King Green. I'm sure we're going to call him Bobby Green, but his legal name is now King Green. That is his name.
I'm going to be just like Paddy. I'm going to call you Bobby.
So straight up pick him here. Green $8,200 on DK, $16 on FanDuel. Paddy, $8,000 on DK, $15 on FanDuel. Paddy Pimblett has signed a new contract with the UFC. I think we all saw that one kind of coming here. I think stylistically, this is an awful matchup for Paddy Pimblett. He better wrestle. And you want to know in the past since 2019, Bobby Green's only been taken down one time. And all I got to do is tell you who he's fought, and you're going to know exactly who took him down. The only guy that's taken him down since 2000, let me pull up his stats here.
I bet you I already know who it is. I'm not even looking at it.
All right, since 2021, he has taken on Rafael Fiziev, 𝐉𝐢𝐿𝐼 Nasrat Haqparast, Islam Makhachev, Drew Dober, Jared Gordon, Tony Ferguson, Grant Dawson, Jalen Turner, Jim Miller. We all know who took him down.
Yeah, exactly. But I'll tell you what, go ahead.
This is my thing about it. Every time I watch Paddy Pimblett fight, I just see the deficiencies in his boxing defense. And that's why I think in this matchup is why I don't like it here. And let's just look at it. And this is a sizable step up in competition from who Paddy Pimblett has been fighting here. To me, if Paddy's going to get this job done, he's got to get the matchup to the ground. If you tell me this plays out on the feet, I think it's either Bobby King Green is either going to knock him out or he's going to land about 125 significant strikes.
I understand what you're saying because, from a coach's aspect, when I look at Paddy Pimblett, I see mistakes, right? I see the chin still high in the air. I see, swimming with punches sometimes where instead of, crispy, hands returning to the jaw, hands returning to your chin when you throw, elbows tucked to the side, head movement. Offensively with his strikes, though, he's dangerous. And I really do think that he's dangerous, and he has shown that he can take a shot. Yes, he can get dropped, but he has the clear advantage in the wrestling and grappling. I think it's significant. I think people don't understand how good of a grappler Paddy Pimblett is when it comes to submissions. His submission game is it's approaching top tier within the division, I'm being honest. And I think he can hurt Bobby Green on the feet because we've seen Bobby Green take way too much damage. And if you go back and you watch Paddy Pimblett in round one against Tony Ferguson, I just think he's violent. I think he pushes a pace. I think Bobby Green has a tendency to always be in close fights to begin with. Mm-hmm. Bobby Green has a tendency to screw around to begin with. Now they're over in England, okay? And you've also taken so many shots where there could be irreversible damage when it comes to his chin and his brain. I think that his chin isn't what it used to be. He relies on shoulder rolling, hands down, making shots miss just barely. Call me crazy. I understand your concerns. I understand everything you're saying. I don't think Bobby Green's the guy to capitalize on the mistakes of Paddy Pimblett. I don't. I don't think so. Not in 2024. I think that if they gave Bobby Green Paddy Pimblett a couple years ago, that would have been very dangerous. You know what I mean? But I do think that one way or another, I think Paddy Pimblett gets the first round finish. I do. I think that he either takes him down and subs him, but most likely I think that he hurts Bobby Green on the feet en route to either a ground and pound or a submission finish. I just don't have confidence in the fight IQ of Bobby Green, who's extremely talented. Extremely talented. But that Jalen Turner fight is something that I can't really get out of my head. And, rebounding against Jim Miller, that's okay. But Jim Miller, stylistically, against Bobby Green, it was pretty easy work for Bobby Green. So I could be on an island. I think that it would make much more sense for Bobby Green to be an underdog, and then I could possibly talk myself into it. But you guys know me, like the odds don't necessarily matter. I'm going to go with the youth in Paddy Pimblett here.
Look, I understand where you're coming from, and the path to Paddy winning this matchup is getting the fight to the ground. He can't sit there and have a striking matchup with King Green. He just can't. And I look at this, and it's very clear to me the UFC has gotten to the point with Paddy and his management of the days of showcase fights are over. You're going to have to start facing the top 15, and this is going to be this test to find out, is Paddy Pimblett truly a top 15 guy, or is he that top 20, top 25 type guy who just has to clear up the striking aspects? And that's what concerns me about this matchup. But look, I get what you're saying. I get it. Look, if Paddy's going to win this matchup, to me, he has to get the one to the ground. But look, I'd also say this. You may want to put a sprinkle on Paddy wins via split decision, because Bobby Green tends to find himself in those type of fights.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, he screws around way too much. Like, I do think that, like, one way or another, I worry about the chin of Bobby Green, but I also worry about the cardio of Paddy Pimblett in round 3. Do they kind of nullify each other a little bit, negate each other rather? It's tough to say. I just do think that Paddy Pimblett came into the UFC as overrated, and now I'm starting to think like some people may have completely jumped ship, and he's starting to approach that underrated territory where people are just like seeing the holes and seeing the flaws and not appreciating the good qualities of his game.
Yeah, let's move over to our next matchup. We got Christian Leroy Duncan taking on Gregory Rodrigues. Duncan is a minus 130 betting favorite, plus 110 for Rodrigues. Rodrigues, 7,900 DK, $14 on FanDuel. For Duncan, he's 8,300 on DK, $15 on FanDuel. And like, I can make the case for Gregory Rodrigues here, but I think if Gregory Rodrigues is going to go out there and get the win, Pete, it's him getting the fight to the ground and using his jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a close one, if I'm being honest. I mean, like, I tend to like rostering middleweights, and the salaries are in a sweet spot, so it's kind of hard to avoid it. And I do think that this matchup will attract a ton of ownership. So you can either, be with the field with it, or you can pivot elsewhere. And I'm going to take a bold call in some of my lineups and pivot elsewhere. Now, I think that at space, Christian Leroy Duncan's a little too dynamic for Gregory Rodrigues. I think that Gregory Rodrigues, RoboCop, he telegraphs a little bit. He doesn't have the best head movement at all. He's a plotter, but he's dangerous. He hits so damn hard. He's aggressive. He has an inconsistent chin that sometimes the lights get shut off quickly. He has fighter's will, so he'll go out there and he will try to win at every moment. And the best and most clear path to victory for him is in incorporating takedowns because of his extremely significant jiu-jitsu set. So his jiu-jitsu skills are superior, far superior to Christian Leroy Duncan. It's just like he's also a fighter that has fallen in love with his hands and fallen in love with striking. He loves it. He loves striking. With Henry Hooft, he's also started to mix in some training with Alex Pereira. The guy is so talented, but I do worry about his chin. This guy's taken a lot of damage through his career. He's a very exciting fighter. But if he recognizes that he's outmatched, he'll start to clinch, but sometimes it's a little too late. I do think that you can look back on some of these finishes where, he has a clear skill advantage in the grappling and took Dennis Tululan down and completely just made quick work of him. Brad Tavares has lost a step, and he was able to knock him out. The Chidi Njokuani, he was able to knock him out. The strength of schedule is okay. I do think that he's the better overall fighter than Christian Leroy Duncan. My worry here is that he just engages in the type of fight Christian wants. So I think that Christian Leroy Duncan on the outside can just win more exchanges than Gregory Rodrigues, who definitely has the power. So everybody's going to be thinking this fight finishes, and it damn well could. I think it's going to be 1-1 going into the third. I really do. And I think that Christian Leroy Duncan is going to be able to go out there and pick up a decision victory, which is a very bold call. But I think that we've seen him go the distance with Petrosian. We've also seen Gregory Rodrigues go the distance with Petrosian. Petrosian took down Christian Leroy Duncan, which is not a good sign at all. If Christian Leroy Duncan gets taken down by Gregory Rodrigues, he can get ground and pounded. He could also get subbed very, very quickly. There's going to be a large gap in that department. But I do think that it's going to make this – the grappling aspect is going to make this pretty close. So for some of my lineups, just to get different, I'm going to pivot elsewhere. But I am going to pick Christian Leroy Duncan to win this fight via decision.
Yeah, to me, Rodrigues was a guy that I was looking at as a GPP play, just thinking, obviously, and you paint the picture perfectly. I mean, you're going to have concern about him getting chin checked in this matchup. When you think about the footwork that Duncan does have, but I keep thinking about, it's like, man, if he can get this one to the ground, man, that's why from a GPP aspect, I'm looking at Gregory Rodrigues there, but I do favor Duncan in the matchup, but I can see the path there for Gregory Rodrigues. Then our opening fight of the main card is a featherweight matchup. We got Arnold Allen take on Giga Chikadze. Chikadze plus 190, betting underdog minus 235 for Arnold Allen. Allen $9,000 on DK, $18 on FanDuel. Giga $7,200 on DK, $12 on FanDuel. And Pete, you kind of talked about this fight a little bit earlier, and when I was mentioning about who's that 9,000 fighter that potentially we need to be looking out for to potentially go out there and lose. And you think about Arnold Allen. It wasn't that long ago we were looking at Arnold Allen as a guy that was right there on the verge of getting a title shot, and he's been unable to get those big wins here. But if this thing plays out on the feet, it's kind of hard not to have some interest here in the 7,200 Giga Chikadze.
Yeah, so I think he is the 9,000 option that I'm nervous about losing. You have Giga Chikadze, a very, very dangerous and dynamic striker who holds a height and reach advantage over him, 6 foot versus 5'8", 74 inches versus 70 inches. Southpaw for Arnold Allen, Giga Chikadze, orthodox, but really will switch stances. So higher output will kind of fight the fight that Arnold Allen typically enjoys, which is a striking matchup. Arnold Allen tends to defend takedowns and fight patiently at range. Giga Chikadze wants to do everything in his power to keep the fight upright. I think this is dangerous for Arnold Allen because he can't get sucked into a kickboxing fight. I think that he'll hurt Giga Chikadze in a kickboxing fight, but you're playing with fire here, man. Giga's got some of the best kicks within the game right now. And in addition to that, it's just not the path of least resistance. Incorporate takedowns. You're going up against a K1 Giga Chikadze guy who just wants to strike. We've seen that he has improved his takedown defense and he has improved his jiu-jitsu overall, but that's the way to win rounds. Get into some 50-50 exchanges, of course, and then change levels, pin him against the cage, utilize your full skill set because we know you're the better mixed martial artist, and that's how you're going to put a stamp on rounds. I think that Arnold Allen, for me, is going to win a decision here. I'm not in love with this fight from a GPP perspective. From a DFS perspective, I think that there's probably more interest in Giga Chikadze from an underdog situation, whereas, Arnold Allen's at 9,000 and you have Giga Chikadze sitting there at 7,200. So naturally, my interest would lie more with the underdog from a DFS perspective. Arnold Allen incorporating takedowns and attempting submissions is something that isn't out of the realm of possibility either. I think that there's a pretty large number on the submission prop for Arnold Allen, which is well worth a sprinkle. But when you have a guy in Arnold Allen who is just so damn patient and so smart for the game, it's hard to back them in the finishing market. I mean, you're talking about a guy who, resides with TriStar and under Firas Zahabi. Like, everybody isn't going to put themselves in a bad position to search for a finish. They're going to worry about position over finishing, okay? And they want to put themselves in a good position to win these rounds and win the fight, not risk it and potentially lose. So because of the fight IQ, the camp and everything he's coming from, I think the most likely situation is an Arnold Allen decision victory. And it's going to be dangerous. And he might lose the first round, and then Firas might get on him and say, dude, we are not striking here. We are going to blend the arts. Yeah. We are going to blend the arts. If you strike, you're going to lose this fight to Giga Chikadze. So give me Arnold Allen to win a decision.
You know, one of the things about Arnold Allen is you see the lack of volume that we have seen throughout his time in the UFC. I mean, especially, look, you look, his first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fights in the UFC all went to the third round. He did get 2 finishes in 2 of those matchups here, but one thing you just look at is you just don't have the volume there. But yeah, I think you labeled out the word best. He's got to blend the martial arts together here. But I definitely do not mind the call, potentially, if you're looking for that punt play of Chikadze in this matchup. Next up, we got Nathaniel Wood taking on Daniel Pineda. Nathaniel Wood is a minus 450 betting favorite, plus 325 for Pineda. Pineda 6,700 on DK, $9 on FanDuel. For Wood, 9,500 on DK, $22 on FanDuel. Of course, we've seen Wood move up here to the 45-pound division. You can see that, how he's been working his body into this. But like, one of the things I just think of is like, I think when I think of Daniel Pineda, I just think of a guy that I know is going to fight for my dollar.
Jason wants to be broke. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know, man. I'm not a big Daniel Pineda guy, and I know he's been around for a while. So credit to him. He's made a career out of being in some entertaining fights for sure. Not a guy that I'm really going to back, though. I'm not in love with his skill set over 15 minutes. In round 1 markets, absolutely. I think like he's dangerous round 1. His cardio falls off a complete cliff. He's susceptible to damage to the head, to the body, and just getting outworked by a younger, more technical fighter in Nathaniel Wood. I do think that the price tag for Nathaniel Wood is appropriate. $9,500 for DFS, though, so it's like, you're talking about a weight class not known predominantly for the most finishes. Finishes in the UFC for featherweights sitting at about 46%. So it's not the best. It's not like you're rostering a heavyweight, but the activity is increased. I think that Nathaniel Wood will definitely be the better fighter over 15 minutes. He could even potentially get a finish, but like we've only seen him pick up 2 knockdowns. One was against 𝐅𝐢𝐠𝐻. One was most recently against Andre Fili. But again, Nathaniel Wood's a very intelligent fighter, very cerebral. Will not risk it and put himself in a position to lose the fight. But I actually think that Daniel Pineda might kind of just have no cardio to last the 15 minutes, and I think it's just going to be the output being too much. 5.91 significant strikes landed per minute for Nathaniel Wood, whereas Pineda sits at 3.09. I also think it's going to be a pacing issue. You have Pineda landing 1.71 takedowns per 15 minutes with only an accuracy of 25%. I think he's going to put it all into round 1, and then come round 2, round 3, we're going to see Nathaniel Wood start to really separate himself. So the price tag makes sense for me. It's definitely a contrarian option because he's above a heavyweight in Tom Aspinall. So naturally I'll reside with Tom Aspinall, but I do think that, Nathaniel Wood's gap in the market and in DFS makes sense for me. So 9,500 Nathaniel Wood for a late finish or decision victory is what I'm residing with. And I would label Daniel Pineda as a round 1 or bust type of fighter for this card.
When you look at Nathaniel Wood, he's gone to decision in 6 straight fights. He's never finished a fight in the first round in the UFC. He's had 2 fights that ended in the second round. but primarily a guy going 15 minutes. I mean, look, I think when you talk about how much we love Tom Aspinall and, the first round upside of Tom Aspinall in this one, but on this one, $100 more, I could see the fantasy score upside, though, there if he's able to, if this thing goes 12, 13, 14, 15 minutes, he gets some takedowns, rack up some points down there. I can see the fantasy score upside of Nathaniel Wood, but there's something about Daniel Pineda, and we'll see whether or not he has that 3-round cardio or not. If he goes out there and wins, I'm going to be blowing your phone up.
Well, bro, you better back him. You better back him in some bets because you got Daniel Pineda's #1 fan right here in Jason Floyd. So,
let me
he's had some great finishes.
I've had a chance to interview Daniel Pineda a bunch of times.
There we go.
So that,
there we go.
So, I mean, you still try to. Look, tomorrow I got to get a nap in before these fights start. I've got beer Olympics in the at 11 o'clock. So I got to get a nap in before these. Don't worry. We come to win.
What? Okay. We used to do beer Olympics up here with my group of friends. What are you guys doing? I already know it includes darts. It has to.
No, darts is not in it. It is. Oh, they don't want this smoke. Oh God, they don't want this smoke.
That's exactly what I was guessing because I was like, "There's no way Jason's doing it, and there's no darts."
So it's cornhole, team Giga, flip cup, beer pong, long chug, and then the championship is 20 cup beer pong.
Bro, you ain't making it through the fights. There is no way.
Oh no! I'm going home. Right after it's over, I'm going home take a nap.
So hold on. What time are you doing beer Olympics?
Starts at 11 a.m.
11 a.m.
Goes till 3.
Bro, there is no way. You ain't waking up. You're going to be seeing this card on Sunday. How many teams?
As of last night, they've got 11 teams.
That's awesome, bro. That's exactly what my friends and I used to do when we were all young and didn't have kids. It would be fun to do it again. We did dizzy bat. Okay. Oh my God. Horrible. I'm like super sensitive to motion sickness. The worst thing ever.
The one game that I suck at when it comes to bar games is the ring game. You're trying to, the hook game where you're throwing to try to get it on the ring. That's the one game.
Yeah.
That's the one
really?
Game I suck. Oh, I suck at that game.
Are you good at cornhole?
Oh yeah.
We love some cornhole up here in Connecticut. Cornhole, horseshoes. I know you're good at darts.
I'll tell you this right now. So one of the people that's on our team, Sammy, she's got about the same mentality that I have, is that we hate to lose.
Yeah. So, hey.
And I'm telling you, that's be on my team, and we come to win. We ain't trying to get second, third. No, it's first place or bust.
How are you guys doing this? Are you guys doing it like as a bracket, or are you guys doing it like all events and then ranking them, or?
Yeah, so it's a lot of it's like time. Like the team Giga thing is basically taking out the Giga, and then how many blocks you take out, and then of course the tiebreaker is a timing. That was a game we killed last year. We finished in first in that one. But yeah, like obviously when you're playing cornhole, you're playing against somebody else. But like something like Giga, Flip Cup. I think Flip Cup maybe we go against somebody. But yeah,
that would make sense. Yeah,
and my buddy Ronnie, he is a chugger. Like I'm not a chugger. Like that.
How many people on your team?
4 players.
4 players and 11 teams.
Yeah, they're trying to get. They're gonna max out at 13 teams.
We did duos. So we had like 10 teams of 2, and it was awesome. But you got teams of 4. Holy moly!
Yeah, it's a fun time. It's one of those things of like, as you get older, these are the type of things you look forward to doing. Hanging out with people and everyone's just having a good time. You know what? No one's and of course you can have friendly trash talk. No different than me and people be friendly trash talk each other at points. But yeah, it's I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, gotta get a nap in tomorrow. Yeah, gotta get a nap in tomorrow. That's what I keep telling myself. But let's move over.
Pete might win the fight, but Jason's winning the drinking game. Absolutely true, Matt.
I'll take Pete down.
Yeah, not even close.
Look, first off, I'll make Pete come to Florida because I don't think those white legs can handle this sun down here.
Yeah, not enough sunblock in Florida to help me out down there. I'm really not that pale. I swear it's the light in here.
No. I've seen your videos you post. The video of you taking the sledgehammer to the tire, bro, I'm not a tan dude, okay? But I'm looking at it going, damn, Pete, those are white-ass legs.
You're not the only person that said that, too. You are not the only person.
I can only imagine what the people in the gym razz you about. I can only imagine.
Absolutely. Hey, now let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You got Beer Olympics coming up.
Yep.
You think Molly McCann can outdrink you? Because I feel like she could. Because remember that time that she partied on the side of the cage when Paddy Pimblett, after she won via beautiful spinning elbow. I bet you she could outdrink you.
Depends on what we're drinking. If we're just drinking beer, bro, I can go all day. I mean, I may not be worth a damn the next day, but yeah, I would look. Would you want to go beer for beer with 𝐉𝐤𝐼𝐭 𝐉𝐸? Probably not.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah, but when I look at Molly and I think about her, it's always okay, is this thing going to stay up on the feet? Or is it going to get to the ground? And, and I think that this is a little bit of a showcase matchup for her here against Bruna Brasil. Brasil plus 270, betting underdog, minus 360 for Molly McCann. McCann, 9,200 on DK, $19 on FanDuel. Bruna, 7,000 DK, $11 on FanDuel. And like, as I was thinking about this matchup, I like Molly in this matchup, but why is it that I just get scared about rostering her?
I think it's just because she has an exciting fighting style. And for the longest, she can get taken down at times and put in bad spots. I mean, she was subbed pretty quickly against Erin Blanchfield and Yulia Stoliarenko. Two clear, better grapplers than her, and two clear, better grapplers than Bruna Brasil. Bruna Brasil can land some takedowns, though. So what that can do is it can somewhat cap somebody's upside, or it can make rounds closer than they need to be, right? Like Molly McCann go out hot out of a cannon, right out from the corner, throwing blitzes, great combinations. And if you are going to wilt under the pressure, she's going to pick up a very quick finish. The issue is if you just get underhooks on her, put her against the cage, tie her up against the cage, land a takedown, get in top position, or you can kind of avoid those blitzes and keep it at range, go tit for tat with her. Obviously the fight can be a little bit closer, but I think that Molly McCann's in a great spot to win here against Bruna Brasil. It's just in women's MMA, I'm not too fond of always predicting blowouts. And Bruna Brasil has shown she can get takedowns against Marnik Mann, who I don't think is good. On the Contender Series, she landed 2. Against Sean O'Bannon, she landed 2. And she even landed 1 against Loma Lookboonmee. So, I think that there is a path for her to win 1 or 2 rounds against Molly McCann. I think that Molly McCann wins this fight probably 70% of the time, 80% of the time. I think that she's priced appropriately. She has some good upside. She has some good pace. She can get takedowns in her own right. She has been improving her submission, her submission arsenal, picking up a first-round armbar over Diana Belbita. Give me Molly McCann to win a decision here, Jason. I think she gets back to a decision victory. She's going to play to the crowd. She's going to try to make it exciting. Mm-hmm. And I think we could see Bruna kind of just clinching her a little bit much and Molly McCann getting a little frustrated. Clearly winning the fight, but maybe not putting together the best DFS score. But 9,200, if you look at the box score, in her win, she has put together great performances. Luana Carolina, 109. Hannah Goldie, 110. Belbita, 119. The decisions is kind of where I'm expecting 92.8 against Kim, Belbita 109.4, 84.7 against Da Silva. I'm expecting 90 points. So I think she clearly wins, but maybe doesn't get a finish.
And, of course, her last 4 fights, Molly McCann, have all ended in the opening round, 2 wins, 2 losses, 3 of those fights ending with a submission there. Now we got to Hadley take on Loughran. Loughran minus 210, betting favorite, plus 175 for Hadley. Hadley, 7,500 DK, $12 on FanDuel. Loughran, 8,500 DK, $18 on FanDuel. Jake Hadley has, it seems like he's gotten this reputation where not a lot of people love him, but and this very well for Jake Hadley could be that matchup that if he doesn't look good, it would not surprise me if the UFC walks away from him.
Yeah, I think this is a bad decision, right? Like, it's more about wanting to compete on the event than anything, or possibly trying to get back into good graces with the UFC. But Jake Hadley is a guy that I'm gonna say busted prospect. I'm gonna say it. Inside the UFC, he finished Carlos Candelario. Um, the finish over Malcolm Gordon really doesn't tell me much. Lost to Cody Durden, lost to Charles Johnson. It's like he can't get out of first gear in some of these fights. Aggressive with the hands, awful takedown defense though. Like, gets taken down, plays jiu-jitsu off of his back. Very sneaky jiu-jitsu. I think that's the problem here against Caolan Loughran. Like, Loughran's a muscle shark for this division. He literally reminds me of Sean Shirk, just at 135 pounds. Like, Sean Shirk would go out there, throw blitzing combinations with the hands, get takedowns, good ground and pound, just being a physical presence within the cage. I think that's what Caolan Loughran's going to do to him in this matchup. So, like, we saw him put together a complete performance against Angel Pacheco, who proved how tough he is. Landed 140 significant strikes, 3 takedowns, 4.5 minutes of control time. Hadley plays off of his back too much, man. I can really see Loughran getting another decision victory here. Hadley attempting some of his rubber guard off of his back. Loughran being too wise to it, being too strong, being too powerful. I don't know, man. I don't like Jake Hadley at bantamweight. Like, he's a flyweight. Perhaps his poor performances are related to, like, cutting too much weight, but I don't know that answer. If you want to take a shot on Jake Hadley, go ahead. But I don't think this is ideal. Up a weight class, short notice, against a guy that can really expose your weaknesses. So give me Caolan Loughran to win a decision here. For DFS, I think that he's in a sneaky spot. But because of the division, I still think that Hadley's talented. Hadley has been knocked down against Charles Johnson, but I think that he showed good instincts in surviving. So give me Loughran at 8,700 to win a decision. I'm kind of expecting 85 points in a victory, so I'll probably pivot elsewhere. But it's more of a betting staple for me.
Yeah, I'm with you there with that pick as well. Next up, we got Modestas Bukauskas taking on Marcin Prachnio. Prachnio, a plus 135 betting underdog. Bukauskas is a minus 160 betting favorite. He's 8,500 on DK, $17 on FanDuel, where the other side, Prachnio, 7,700 DK, $13 on FanDuel. And when I think about Modestas, Pete, I was like, he's almost by default. You just label his fight as a GPP fight because I just feel like someone, no matter who he's in the cage against, someone is getting finished.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'll tell you what. I'll draw some parallels between last card and this card, and Marcin Prachnio is the Steve Garcia of the week for me. Like, a guy that I'm just not fond of, a guy that I'm just not, willing to back all that much. The one thing is that we have Marcin Prachnio here in the division that is likely to finish inside the distance. I'm just not the highest on Marcin Prachnio, and he's labeled as the underdog at 7,700. He has picked up some impressive victories, like beating Devin Clark. I guess it's impressive. Devin Clark is a guy that really never came into his own. Beating William Knight, leg kicking him 100 times, and William Knight not throwing 8 significant strikes. I mean, is that impressive? I'm not sure. Finishing Ike Villanueva. Literally the most impressive thing about Marcin Prachnio is the fact that somehow he beat Khalil Roundtree in a 15-minute fight. And I just think it was a matter of Khalil just not wanting to fight that night. I mean, it's as simple as that. Like, some nights you're there, you're present, you're hungry. Some nights you're not. And we've also seen, like, that was kind of like when Khalil was in his rut. And now we see Khalil Roundtree looking like the absolute killer we expected. Roundtree's on a 5-fight win streak with 4 of those 5 coming by way of finish, and was losing to Johnny Walker, Kudalaba, and Prachnio previous to that. So it's like, on the flip side, I have Modestas Bukauskas beating Tyson Pedro before Tyson Pedro was labeled a bust. Like, Tyson Pedro, like, everybody loved him when he returned to the octagon. He finished Ike Villanueva and Harry Hunsucker. Modestas steps up on short notice and does what a lot of people didn't think he could, and that was win a decision over Tyson Pedro. And most recently beating 𝐉𝐨𝐻𝐭, a guy that was highly touted to win the Ultimate Fighter despite not being in his natural weight class. So the chin of Modestas is something that I worry about because he's been knocked out in almost all of his losses. One to Jimmy Crute, one to Khalil Roundtree, but that was because of the brutal knee injury. One to Vitor Prachnio and one on the regional scene. But the hand combinations that I see from Modestas Bukauskas, he throws with some heat and he throws with good, good skills. Prachnio, more of the karate guy. I think that this could be a contrarian pick. Mm-hmm. And I think like the masses are going to flock to a Prachnio as an underdog pick because of like he's the more active fighter over 15 minutes. I just don't think it's going to go 15 minutes. Yeah. And I think that like we've seen Prachnio show to have a poor chin in the past, knocked out against Sam Alvey, Ankalaev, and Rodrigues. I think it's going to be shown again. I'm going to be contrarian here and back the mid-priced Modestas Bukauskas here at 8,500. I think he finishes Marcin Prachnio, but beware. Mm-hmm. Prachnio is literally the Steve Garcia of the week.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's in terms of GPP, as you're developing your lineups, it's just one of those fights that you just got to circle and say, you know what, I want to get to this fight, get to both of these guys just because I think someone's going to get finished in this one. Next up, we got Oban Elliott taking on Preston Parsons. Elliott, a plus 125 betting underdog, minus 150 for Parsons. Parsons, 8,600 on DK, 16 on FanDuel. And for Elliott, he is 7,600 on DK, $13 on FanDuel. And I remember after Elliott's last fight, I think in the score I said, I'm going to target when he has a wrong opponent. And I think this is a bad opponent for him here. And I do like Preston Parsons to get the job done.
Interesting. I'm on the other side. So I'm excited to have a conversation. I do think that beating Val Woodburn doesn't show much at all. Val Woodburn is a guy that knocked down Oban Elliott and picked up 2 takedowns as well, but we saw Oban Elliott overcome. Oban's a guy that like has to get hurt to get woken up in a fight, which is dangerous, right? Like you're playing with fire at the highest level of fighting. We saw it on the Contender Series as well, where he was almost submitted in a deep armbar and got out of it and just has like next level toughness. Like the guy should lose more than he does, and he finds a way to win. He's got that dog in him, and I hate that saying, but he really does have that never say die attitude. I think somebody's going to have to put him unconscious for him to not be willing to fight. I'm not big on Preston Parsons as a favorite, if I'm being honest. Mm-hmm. I think that Preston Parsons is a fighter to target when he's the underdog and can come through. He's a guy that can incorporate takedowns and has good takedowns and control time. Pretty sneaky jiu-jitsu fighter as well. Been watching a lot of Oban Elliott training footage too, and I think that his hands have developed into something pretty dangerous. His boxing looks crisp. I view him as the better striker in this matchup over Preston Parsons. I think Preston's clearly going to look to engage in some takedowns, and I think he'll be surprised that Oban will have some resistance and also has the ability to test Preston Parsons, take down the fence, put him on his back, put pressure on him everywhere. So for me, I'm actually going to back the Welsh gangster here. I don't think this is the matchup for it, and you disagree with me, and that's completely fine. I think if Oban's going up against a very dangerous striker who can defend takedowns, I'm going to be off the Oban Elliott train. I don't think that Preston Parsons is the guy to expose the holes in Oban Elliott's game. Give me Oban, for me, as a surprising underdog. I didn't think he was going – when I saw the price tag, I said, whoa, okay. 7,600 Oban Elliott is a guy that I'm interested in this week.
Yeah, I'm on the other side of this, and I'm just not big on Oban Elliott. I just see the deficiencies in his game. Next up, I feel like is going to be the matchup of who is going to have more composure. Will it be Muhammad Mokaev or will it be Manel Kape? We have seen them get into it all week. We had the teams get into the hotel scuffle. After the weigh-ins, Mokaev throws a water bottle backstage at Manel Kape. And Bukauskas is the favorite here at minus 175, plus 145 for Manel Kopp. Manel Kopp, 700 DK, $13 on FanDuel. Bukauskas, 8,400 on DK, $16 on FanDuel. I was surprised this fight is not higher up on the card than what it is, because I think you can very much make a case that if Amir Albazi is not ready to go here in the next couple of months, the winner of this matchup could be next for Pantoja.
100%. Absolutely. And I agree. And I've come up with a rule. Not a rule. It's kind of funny, but like if fighters get into a fight backstage days before or at the weigh-ins, just avoid the fight because it's going to underperform. It's not going to deliver to our expectations. I think like it's an emotional fight. I think there's going to be the tension's high. I think there's a ton to lose for both fighters. And we've also seen like with the judging criteria, evaluating and valuing damage over control, and this is a perfect situation. Muhammad Mokaev could get 10 takedowns, but he just doesn't do enough striking-wise. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't do anything. And in how many of his fights have we seen him nearly lose? He still picked up the victories. He still came back and won with seconds to spare. Like the Malcolm Gordon fight he should have got rid of Malcolm Gordon so easily. 4 minutes, 26 seconds in round 3, picks up a finish. Rafael Filho almost submits him with knee bars. 4 minutes and 32 seconds in the third round. Tim Elliott fight, 3 minutes and 3 seconds in the third round. Alex Perez, he just doesn't do enough for me in the striking to make it make sense for me to back him here. I think that Manel Kopp can get taken down, but he has a great ability to get back to his feet, defend some takedowns. He throws way more on the feet than Muhammad Mokaev. And honestly, like, you can't look at box scores and predict the same thing to happen. But, like, Mateus Nicolau took down Manel Kopp twice. David Dvorak took down Manel Kopp twice. And he still outlanded them. I think it's going to be a Manel Kopp decision. I don't think that Manel Kopp, his upside is significant because of the clinching and the takedowns that Muhammad Mokaev are going to, that he's going to attempt. It's going to limit the upside. And I don't think that he's going to score more than 80 points. I really don't. And it could literally be Muhammad Mokaev lands 10 takedowns, gets 50 points at 8,400 rather, and Manel Kopp walks away with 75, 80 points for landing 60 significant strikes. So it's going to be a Manel Kopp play for me. I'm not in love with it for a DFS either, which is odd. I just think this is high-level matchmaking, very odd placement on the card, and because of how much both of these fighters have to lose in this situation, I think it's going to be a safe type of approach, a very cerebral fight, one that doesn't have the best DFS production.
Even before everything that's transpired, I wasn't in love with this matchup from a GPP aspect. It's a high-level fight, no question about it. I don't see a high ceiling in this matchup in terms of 90, 95, 100 points. I think this thing likely goes 15 minutes, and I think you brought great points talking about Mokaev and just not – he might work those takedowns, but it's like, what are you doing after getting that takedown? That's what kind of concerns me here. And I'd say, as I said, I think who's going to have more composure. And based on what I've seen so far, I think Manel Kopp's got more composure. He looks like the guy that's been there. He's been in this game for a long time, so we'll see how that one plays up. Next up, we got Sam Patterson taking on Kiefer Crosby. Crosby at plus 325 betting underdog, minus 450 for Patterson. Patterson, 9,300 on DK, $21 on FanDuel. For Kiefer Crosby, 6,900 on DK, $10 on FanDuel. I will tell you this. When Kiefer Crosby got into the UFC, I was surprised. I didn't see this one coming. It almost kind of smells like maybe in a package deal that one of his teammates got him in here. I like Sam in this matchup. It's just, to me, wow.
Oh, bro, you have no idea. She's crazy. She's loud, and she's yeah, dude, she's nuts. So if you guys heard that, my daughter is
she's being a little feisty today.
Oh, she's wild. She's awesome though. She's a sweetheart, but man, oh man, she's hilarious. It's the greatest thing in the world. When it comes to the matchup, Jason, I already know you like Daniel Pineda in an underdog long shot role, right? Over Nathaniel Wood. Why not? He has good first round upside. For me, I think I'd rather play Kiefer Crosby than Daniel Pineda. And the main thing is because you know that Kiefer Crosby is going to go out there and throw heavy and throw a lot of volume. Do I think that Kiefer is extremely talented and skilled? No, I don't. But on the other side of the equation, you have a guy in Sam Patterson who's been knocked out in his defeats. I can label him as chinny. Absolutely, I can label him as chinny. Some people thought that Johan Lainez was going to take advantage of that susceptible chin. Wasn't able to do so. So as far as like a dart throw, I think 6,900 Kiefer Crosby makes more sense than Daniel Pineda in my opinion. I will say though, I'm not backing Kiefer Crosby as a UFC fighter. I just don't think that he's good enough to be here. I don't. I think that Sam Patterson has actual and legitimate skills. He can dance on the outside and avoid the big, powerful blitzes of Kiefer Crosby. But clearly the best and path of least resistance is taking a neck and trying to incorporate some grappling, trying to take down Kiefer Crosby and work towards either a guillotine or a rear naked choke. And Sam Patterson has a very, very crafty submission game to him. Very limited output on the striking, but we've seen it, man. Like, he's very good. Even if he gets taken down, he just has a very good head and arm series, which is something I love. Front headlock series, something that I've incorporated into my game. I think Sam Patterson picks up a submission win here. Just can't get knocked out, can't get, chin checked as he has in the past. It's just like, if a guy doesn't initiate a takedown and gets a standing submission, or gets taken down and gets a submission off of his back, you're not going to have the upside from a chain wrestler. So I think 95 points for Sam Patterson all day long. But I'm not big on him from like a DFS aspect. I think like it's much more of a prop hunting Sam Patterson via submission. But 9,300, I think he's a safe win. So I'm going to back him here.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would rather pay the price tag on Sam than I would pay the price tag on Molly. Even though Molly could very easily go out there and get a first-round finish. I mean, that's just something there. I want to mention this note because I just saw this come up on my Twitter timeline. Curtis Blaydes, so he weighed in at 256 pounds today. This is the lightest he has weighed since January 2000 against Junior Dos Santos. His last couple matchups, 261 against Rosenstruck, 259 against Bukauskas, 260. His first matchup against Aspinall, and 262.5 against 𝐉𝐤𝐿𝐴 𝐿𝐼𝐼𝐻. So little note I want to throw out there about Curtis Blaydes heading into this one.
I bet you he's increased his cardio like crazy. It's a 5-round fight. That's exactly what it is to me. I mean, me as a fighter, I've gotten lighter when I've taken better and more opportunities that are tougher in competition. And it's something that in 5-round fights in the past, we've seen him not have the best cardio, and that's against Volkov, who has no ground game, similar to Tom Aspinall. So I think it's a good approach. Being heavier isn't always better, but being in shape is the best. And scariest thing in there for me is just running out of gas.
Yeah. Oh, I've had so many fighters say, they'll say, hey, there's not many things I'm scared of, but the gas tank is going on empty is what scares you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially like that's why you have to just train so hard and it becomes so obsessive.
Yeah. Next up, we got Parkin take on Bresky. Bresky at plus 275, betting underdog minus 370 for McParkin. He's 9,100 on DK, $19 on FanDuel, and for Bresky, he is 7,100 on DK and $11 on FanDuel. Pete.
All right. So if you look at box scores and you watch fights in the past, it's really, really impressive to see the volume that Łukasz Bresky possesses. Doesn't have the best accuracy, but he throws a lot of strikes. Like, I'm going to go round by round in some of these fights. Against Walter Walker, 60, 70, and 60 in rounds 1, 2, and 3. Against Carl Williams, even though he was taken down a ton of times, 39, 20, and 13. Against Martin Boudet, this is the one I really wanted to hammer home. 111, 89, and 80. And those are all total strikes per round. So in a kickboxing setting, Mick Parkin can be out-volumed all day long. Mick Parkin is very, very good. I think Mick Parkin came in overrated. Now I think he's kind of at that underrated standpoint. If it's just a 15-minute kickboxing fight, the more active fighter, the busier guy could pick up a decision victory, and that's 𝐉𝐤𝐻𝐵RESKY. But the thing about Bresky is that he is so susceptible to takedowns. And I don't think he's all that good. And I think he's there to be damaged as well. And Mick Parkin training with Tom Aspinall throughout champ camp is something that's really going to hold some value for me. I think that Mick Parkin here, there's no reason for you to just get into a kickboxing matchup. You did that against Muhammad Usman, and the strikes were 57 of 168 for Usman and 72 of 150 for Parkin. Those are not good ratios or numbers, especially in hindsight. We see Muhammad Usman losing last week. But if he goes out there and he incorporates takedowns, I think Mick Parkin is the takedown city guy of the week. I really do. I think that Mick Parkin's going to go out there and take 𝐉𝐤𝐻𝐵RESKY down to takedown city and hit him with some ground and pound and either pick up a finish or just an absolute dominant decision. So this is me planting a flag here and hoping that Mick Parkin goes out there and gets the much-needed best victory within his career and best and first finish in the UFC. So I'm going to circle Mick Parkin, and I think he's going to pick up slate-breaking potential here at 9,100.
I'm completely with you. I feel like he's, one of the safer plays this week.
Yeah. And
then our opening matchup of the night, we got Ban taking on Elise. Elise is a plus 150 betting underdog, minus 180. Bannon, 8,900 DK, $17 on FanDuel. And for Elise, 7,300 on DK, $12 on FanDuel. She took this fight on short notice. Look, if you go down the Tapology rabbit hole, the one thing you'll see is selective matchmaking. Would that be, that might be the best way to put it.
Yeah, soft schedules are something that, it's becoming commonplace within MMA right now. It's very frustrating. Ardeline here, of course, has round-winning potential because of volume and aggressiveness. I do think, though, that we will see Shauna Bannon being the more composed, better overall mixed martial artist, and going the distance and not getting finished against Bruna Brasil, despite getting taken down twice, reversing some positions. I do think that Shauna Bannon's here and is going to pick up a decision victory. It should be first fight of the night. It is first fight of the night. Low level, very low level women's MMA right here. I think that Shauna Bannon is just a little bit more prepared for this stage. Ardeline on short notice. Getting whispers she didn't look the best at weigh-ins. I just think that Bannon is going to pick up a decision but not pay off for DFS. So 8,900, give me Bannon via decision. You could do worse things than backing an underdog in women's MMA, but I don't think that Ardeline's the one to do so.
Yeah, I don't. You mentioned it's low level, and to pay a premium price tag, Bannon may very well go out there and get a good score, but it's a fight that when I'm hand building, I just don't think I'm going to get to it very much. Let's get into our straight up fight picks. We'll answer some questions and get out of here. The main event, even though I do like Belal Muhammad as a cash play, my pick for the fight is Leon Edwards.
I'm going to go Belal Muhammad.
I will go Tom Aspinall.
Tom Aspinall.
Give me King Green.
Paddy Pimblett, please.
I'm going to go Duncan, but I'm concerned about him getting submitted.
Yeah, I'm going to go Duncan.
I'm going to say Arnold Allen just because of having an overall game.
Agreed. Arnold Allen.
I know I shouldn't do this.
No, you're not doing it.
Screw it. No, Nathaniel Wood.
Okay, I was going to say, bro, for a straight-up pick, I'm going Nathaniel Wood.
I'll go Molly.
Molly McCann for me.
I'm going to say Loughran gets the job done.
Loughran as well.
I'm going to go with my first underdog shot. Give me Marcin Prachnio.
I think it's going to be popular. I'm going to go Bukauskas here, though.
I'll go Parsons.
On the opposite of you, Oban Elliott for me.
I will go underdog number 2, Manel Kopp.
Manel Kopp.
I'll go Sam
Patterson.
Parkin.
Parkin.
And Bannon.
Bannon.
Let's get to score questions in and we'll get out of here. Top core cash GPP. So for me, in terms of a cash game, and I think it'd probably be GPP just because of the salary point, I think is below Muhammad, just because I don't see Leon Edwards going out there and smoking him in 10 minutes. I think the thing goes 25 minutes. So I like the floor below Muhammad as a core play.
Totally agree.
And I think on the high end, I think it's got to be Mick Parkin.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's Tom Aspinall, but Mick Parkin hasn't proven it yet. I think this is the fight he proves it. So I'm going to be a little earlier than late, or attempt to be. But I'm with you. I think it's Aspinall for what he's shown, and he's got the 5 rounds, which definitely ain't going 5 rounds. And then it's Mick Parkin for me.
Who knows? Maybe he's the guy that could be that quick win bonus this week of Tom Aspinall. Very well could be. Top inside the distance fights and fighters. Obviously, I think you got to look at the co-main event of Aspinall and Blaydes. Then kind of looking down the card, Bukauskas, Prachnio, I would throw in that mix. Patterson Crosby is another one I would throw in that list, and I would throw Parkin as a fighter to win inside the distance.
Yeah, so I'll highlight some fights that I am increasing ownership to and that I think have great odds for GPPs. It's the Aspinall Blaydes fight, Bukauskas, Prachnio, Elliott and Parsons, Belal, Muhammad and Edwards, of course, Parkin and Brzeski, and then I think the price point between Pimblett and Green makes it very difficult to get away from.
Top pump plays, I'm going to label one pump play, and I think it's if the fight stays on the feet, Giga Chikadze at 7,200.
I am with you as a pump play. I think that he's not bad. Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think as a complete dart throw, Crosby just because of Patterson's chin, but I definitely think it's low percentage of happening. So give me Giga Chikadze, in agreement with you.
In terms of best decision odds and favorite parlays, I think Green Pimblett's going the distance. I think the main event's going the distance. Other fights that I would label that likely I think go the distance, I would put Elliott and Parsons in there. Makhachev and Kopp, I think would be another one I would throw in there. If I was going to put together a parlay, I would probably go, if I was going to do a 3-fighter parlay, I'd go Mick Parkin, Manel Kopp, and Tom Aspinall.
I don't hate that. I just do worry about that Makhachev Kopp fight just being so close that it's like a split one way or another. I'm with you, Aspinall and Parkin. Who's the third for me? It's a hard question. Who's the third that you have a lot of faith in? I think I'm going to say Molly McCann. Granted, that's like 3 favorites, but
yeah, I
do think that's probably the most likely.
For the Jason and Pete special, for me, the first fight night, I really don't want to touch. If I was going to play it that side, I'm playing Bannon. For Pete, we all know he's on the Paddy Pimblett side in terms of that one. Over under 7.5.
What do we got, 13?
I'm going to say under.
We have 14. I'm going to say over.
Okay, all right. Top MVP, top captain plays. In terms of MVP, I mean, he's going to be high priced. Nathaniel Wood may not be a bad captain / MVP. If the thing goes 15 minutes, he can rack up some takedowns.
For me, it's Belal Muhammad.
Yeah,
so if I'm playing that contest, like, you're getting a savings, you're getting 5 rounds, you're getting a pace monster. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then you could just spend up everywhere else. So that's what I would do.
Yeah. Let's see here. Best leverage play. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to be on below Muhammad. That you might, I'm still served. We're just going to have good ownership, so I think it's probably not there. I mean, if you're probably looking at I wonder if Jake Hadley is this leverage play of the week. Everyone's down on him.
Yeah, for sure. I just don't like the matchup for him. I think that he will possess some good leverage for the slate. I think you could say the same thing about Modestas Bukauskas, though. Like mid-priced, hasn't really done much. The fight's going to be popular.
Yeah.
But like if you look at box scores and you look at anything, it looks like a Prachnio underdog shot all day long. I'm just a little contrarian, and I know he's the favorite, but a lot of people don't want to back the favorite who's ugly. They'd much rather back the underdog who's ugly. So give me Bukauskas as like the leverage plot.
Takedown upside. I think you got to look at Belal Muhammad, Curtis Blaydes. If this fight can extend out, I think it could be a potential upside there. I could even see Aspinall getting takedowns as well in that matchup. Other ones that would stick out to me, Nathaniel Wood.
It's Parkin for me.
Mikhaev, Parkin. Yeah, those are all good takedown options there. And ranking the 9K options, so I think we're probably both in agreement. Aspinall being number one.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably go number two. I would go Parkin being number two.
Yep.
And then I'd probably be looking at McCann, Patterson, Wood, Allen.
Yeah, I'm going Aspinall, Parkin, Wood, Patterson, McCann, Allen. I don't think the 9,000s are bad. Obviously, they're the highest, favorites on the card. But I think that we're like just off a couple points here and there.
But it should be a great night of fights, of course. The prelims start 6 p.m. Eastern time. Of course, main card 10 p.m. Eastern time. Hopefully we have, let's knock on wood, no changes tomorrow after Lock does hit here. Of course, we got that DK contest. Be sure to get into that. Of course, show your support for the channel. Hit that thumbs up button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, be sure to do that. As I mentioned earlier on the show, we're going to be putting out some more content. Fire interviews are going to be coming. I've already been hitting up the managers and lining up some UFC. Also, going to be getting Contender Series fighters on as well. Of course, Contender Series is right around the corner, so I've already locked in one fighter who's going to be on the Contender Series. I don't think his fight's been announced, so I don't want to give that quite out yet, but I'm working on some things over there, so want to add more content to the channel. If there's any type of content you want to see on this channel outside of what me and Pete do here on Thursday or Friday afternoon, hit us up. Whether you want to hit us up on YouTube or you want to hit us up on Instagram, wherever it may be. We always are on Discord. Just let us know what type of content you want to hear from us, and we'll definitely do it the best we can. We want to continue to just pump out some content out there, get you some different content that's out there that maybe not be on other channels. Pete, anything you want to leave the listeners with?
No, I just want to say thanks, guys, for the constant support. If you can help us, reach our next goals of trying to get towards that 2,000 subs, that would be great. Appreciate everybody helping us get to 1,000 subscribers. Every time that we do a video, if you guys can hit that thumbs up button, it really does help. Another thing that can really help the videos and help the channel is just engaging in some comments below the video, just whether it's giving us your underdog of the card or giving us your opinion on the main or co-main event, giving us your bold prediction. Something. Engage with us. I try to respond to every single comment on our YouTube videos. I know Jason does as well. So thank you guys for the never-ending support and the good luck on Saturday. I'm going to enjoy the fights, and I'll be in the Discord channel talking about bets.
No doubt about it. Let's go wrap it up for this edition of Fight HQ Podcast. We will be back here next week. Of course, we got a Saturday afternoon card next week as the UFC heads overseas for this one. So we appreciate everyone tuning in this episode of the Fight HQ Podcast, and we will talk to you next week.